What's up everybody, it's Robin Gaming here. With the PlayStation 4 already entering its 4th year, the library of available games has never been so diverse. The last few years have brought some amazing titles, now truly making the system a must-own for any gamer. The following list is my personal opinion of the top 25 PS4 games I enjoyed the most and would recommend to you. With that being said, let me know your personal favorites in the comments, and then for now, I hope you enjoy the countdown. Starting off the list at number 25 is The Order 1886. It's a game that when it released received quite some criticism for its short 6-hour campaign and lack of replay value. While those complaints were definitely justified, I really liked it for its engaging story, stunning graphics and fantastic action. This is a game that deserves not only to be played, but also a sequel, and if it ever gets it, I'm sure it's gonna be an improvement in every single way. Drive Club had a very rough development cycle, supposed to be coming out at PS4's launch, but then being delayed by a full year. In the end, the game surprisingly delivered as a beautiful looking racer with a large amount of content, which was expanded with lots of free DLC and a core community that only grew by time. It's a shame that Evolution Studios was closed down, because with Drive Club they certainly deserved better. If there's one game I desperately want to see announced, it's a new installment in the Skate franchise, but sadly, that's looking very unlikely. Fortunately, Steep has managed to temporarily fill that gap as an extreme sports title that offers snowboarding, skiing, paragliding and wingsuit challenges. It's a typical Ubisoft open world game translated to the Alps, and if you're looking for that gameplay that gives you that awesome adrenaline rush, this is where you're going to get it. As a free PS Plus game in the very first month of the PS4, I still can't believe how Resogun is just so good. It's a small yet addictive arcade shooter where you're tasked with saving all the humans while being attacked by many different enemies. The particle effects are still some of the best in class, and the game is simply fun. For its small price right now, it's a must-have. Infamous Second Son slightly disappointed me when compared to the previous games in the series, which I really liked because of the repetitive side missions and not so gripping story. However, this is undeniably still a great game to play. With the cool powers like smoke and neon at your fingertips and the sandbox of Seattle right in front of you, Delsin's superhero abilities have never felt more satisfying. It's still crazy to see how divided people's perception towards Destiny can be. While some hate it for its lack of original content and any depth in story, others can't get enough of it for the addictive looting system and RPG elements. Where do I fall in this category? Somewhere in the middle. The issues are definitely there, but this is a game I've gotten 100 hours of enjoyment out of playing it with friends. The original Mirror's Edge on PS3 was a true gem that sadly didn't sell well. Fortunately, EA gave the franchise hope with Catalyst that reboots the series, now featuring an open world setting. While that means the activities you do are a little more generic, the first person parkour gameplay is still so original, easy to learn yet hard to master, you need to give it a go. God of War is easily one of Sony's biggest IPs, and we've all seen how amazing that new game looks at last year's E3. In the meantime, God of War 3 Remastered is a great way to either get familiar with the series or to relive the conclusion to the original trilogy. Hack and slash button mashing and epic boss battles on a huge scale, it's sometimes hard to realize this was a PS3 game. While I can't speak any good about Activision's business practices to tie this game to the Infinite Warfare Deluxe Edition, there is no denying that Modern Warfare was one of the defining multiplayer experiences back in 2007. In this remastered version, assets have been completely remade, resulting in a campaign that's still engaging and a multiplayer that's amazing in its basicness. Modern Warfare is a blast to return to. Over 60 million copies sold. I probably don't have to say anything because you already own GTA 5 anyway. Rockstar knows how to make an open world game unlike anyone else. Michael, Franklin and Trevor are great characters, the story is hilarious and over the top, and Los Santos contains an endless amount of activities for you to do. It's GTA, I think I'll just leave it at that. In Heavy Rain, Ethan Moss loses one of his two sons to a car accident, while years later, the other gets kidnapped by the Origami Killer. With the choices that can affect any later events and the multiple playable characters that can all die while the story simply continues, this is a thrilling adventure that lets you choose how far you would go to save someone you love. Crystal Dynamics has done a very good job rebooting the long ongoing Tomb Raider franchise, adding action-packed gameplay and making it a more cinematic experience. While the characters and writing definitely need some big improvements in the future, and Rise of the Tomb Raider was just released as well, I would still recommend the original's definitive edition the most for its mysterious tone and setting that had me intrigued from beginning to end. The Last Guardian took around 10 years to finally come out, and in the end when I finally got to play it, I felt torn. I've never played a game with such awkward controls and camera issues that are present far too often, but man was this a special story between a boy and his bond with Trico, the massive creature that guards him. The Last Guardian is a roller coaster ride of emotions that, despite its flaws, I would suggest to anyone. As my very first Batman game, Arkham Knight really surprised me. Not only would I easily call this the best looking open world game available right now, the variety in gameplay is another thing that really stood out. Flying around Gotham City, using the hand-to-hand combat system which offers a lot of depth, going on side missions that are actually meaningful, and driving around in the Batmobile chasing down villains. Fans of superheroes and open world games should pick this up for sure. Now we all know Watch Dogs has had some reputation issues. It got many people hyped with amazing looking demos and promises that ultimately weren't delivered on. However, that doesn't take away from the fact I put over 50 hours into what for me still counts as a Ubisoft game with great mechanics, stealth gameplay and original online hacking. In the end, the one thing I want out of a video game is fun, and Watch Dogs deliver that to me. Speaking about fun, we have to talk about Ratchet and Clank. It's easily one of 2016's best games, only launching at $40 and you can already get it much cheaper right now. This complete reboot looks gorgeous, the weapons are awesome and the platforming, puzzles and shooter gameplay never gets stale. I've now beaten the game 3 times and I still want more. Here I thought I had completely given up on the Assassin's Creed series after too many games all tried to do the same thing, and in comes Black Flag, blowing me away with one of the most memorable settings ever. 3 years later, I still find myself occasionally singing shanties in my head, because that's what this game did. While the gameplay is definitely more of the same, the ship battles feel epic, and the colorful lush jungles and cities in this pirate world will stick with you for a very long time. I was initially afraid that these Souls games and therefore also Bloodborne were just not meant for me, but I ended up giving it a go and man am I glad I did. The game has an awesome nightmare-like setting, but the real star is obviously the gameplay. While it is unforgiving as hell, no pun intended, that satisfying feeling when finally beating one of the gigantic bosses you just don't get anywhere else. As a massive Lord of the Rings fan, Shadow of Mordor brought my favorite world to life while still very much being its own thing. Although it doesn't offer a super varied or big open world, Mordor does look great. The Nemesis system lets you truly find your own rivals, and slaughtering those orc captains with the absolutely brutal execution moves couldn't possibly feel more satisfying. I started the game just before the weekend had started, and by Sunday, time had flown by, showing me 20 hours on the clock. Only few games can do that, and Shadow of Mordor was one of them. Battlefield 1 is currently the go-to multiplayer game for most people on PS4, and that's for good reason. Immense skill with vehicle and infantry combat allow for you to experience these truly like war-feeling moments that you can't have in any other game. With battles for up to 64 players, a Battlefield game is almost required to be in your gaming library, and Battlefield 1 is easily the best multiplayer recommendation right now. I've said it before and I'll keep on saying it. Rayman Legends is the most underappreciated game of the last 5 years. I grew up playing games like Super Mario, and Legends built a traditional platformer like that, but added an amazing and unique art style, many original new gameplay elements, and music levels that react to your movements and are just a real treat to play. It's sad that a game like this struggled to sell 1 million copies. Buy this game, you will have a blast, and Rayman Legends deserves it. The Last of Us, do I need to say anything more? Joel and Ellie's emotional journey was a perfect way to close off the last generation that defined Naughty Dog as the best studio Sony has right now. With this remastered version in full 1080p 60 frames per second, you can now relive or jump in fresh in what will prove to be an experience that is simply unforgettable. Having finally gone back to catch up with MGS 1 through 4 in 2014 and being hooked by the story, I went into Metal Gear Solid 5 with certain expectations, but instead got the complete opposite. While the story is told through visually stunning cutscenes, it's just not as important. No, Metal Gear Solid 5 was about the gameplay. Featuring the best controls and mechanics in any game I've ever played, all while taking place in a gorgeous open world and playing at 60 frames per second, it's a technical masterpiece that's a joy to sneak around in and where you build out your mother base to become the ultimate big boss. Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, brings the 3 PlayStation 3 installments of my favorite series of all time to PS4, and it's just as good as it ever was. With graphics that still hold up to this day, beautiful environments, and actual playable set pieces you can't believe you aren't only watching, there is just nothing as fun as going on these adventures with Nathan Drake, Sully, and Elena. Uncharted is a journey, and sadly, all journeys must ultimately come to an end. It won't come as a surprise, but my favorite game on PS4 is... Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is the perfect ending to a series that you honestly don't want to end. It's the culmination of what Naughty Dog has been trying to achieve for the last decade. For one last time, Nathan Drake returns to the world of treasure hunting as his long-lost brother Sam drags him into what is a more character-driven, more emotional than ever, beautiful closing adventure. The multiplayer and recently introduced co-op survival mode add another 100 hours to make sure you'll be playing this until long after you've beaten the campaign. With a more open approach to traversal, jaw-dropping vistas and explosive moments, and graphics that no other game can match, it is the perfect showcase of what the PlayStation 4 can do. It's sad to have to say goodbye to Nathan Drake, but with the ode, the tribute to the series that is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, I am more than anything grateful for such an incredible experience. Thanks a lot for watching my top 25 PS4 games. Make sure to tell me about your own favorites in the comments and consider subscribing if you want to see much more. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed my list, so for now, thanks a lot for watching and hope to see you again next time.